66 million years ago, in what is now the western interior of North America, the Earth was a radically different world. The Hell Creek Formation stretched across vast lowland plains, a mosaic of subtropical forests, winding rivers, and seasonal floodplains where life thrived in the shadow of giants. This was the closing chapter of the Cretaceous period, the final act before a cosmic catastrophe would reset the evolutionary stage forever. The air hung heavy with humidity, thick with the calls of pterosaurs gliding overhead and the distant rumble of volcanic activity from the western mountain ranges. Towering conifers, ancient relatives of today's redwoods, stood sentinel over an understory of ferns, cycads, and flowering plants that had only recently begun their conquest of terrestrial ecosystems. Rivers meandered through the landscape, their banks teeming with turtles, crocodilians, and countless species of fish. This was a world of abundance, but also of relentless competition. Here, in this primordial landscape, one animal stood unchallenged at the apex of the food chain: Tyrannosaurus rex, the tyrant lizard king. And our story follows one particular individual, a mature bull, 9 tons of muscle, bone, and evolutionary perfection. He is 14 years old, past his rapid growth phase, now in the prime of his hunting life. His body is a testament to millions of years of predatory refinement. A massive skull measuring 5 feet in length, armed with teeth the size of bananas, some conical for puncturing, others blade-like for slicing through flesh and crushing bone. His bite force, recent biomechanical studies suggest, could exceed 6 tons of pressure, capable of pulverizing the vertebrae of even the largest prey. But it's not just his weaponry that makes him formidable. His eyes face forward, providing stereoscopic vision that allows him to judge distances with remarkable precision, a trait shared with modern ambush predators. His sense of smell is extraordinary, with olfactory bulbs larger than those of any known terrestrial predator. He can detect the scent of a carcass from miles away, track the hormonal signals of potential mates, and sense the fear pheromones of wounded prey. As dawn breaks over the Hell Creek landscape, our Tyrannosaurus emerges from a grove of dawn redwoods where he has spent the night. The morning light filters through the canopy, casting dappled shadows across his massive frame. His skin, covered in scales with possible filamentous proto-feathers along his back and neck for thermoregulation, reflects the muted greens and browns of his environment. He moves with surprising deliberation, each footfall calculated, conserving energy in a world where the next meal is never guaranteed. This is not the Hollywood monster, charging recklessly after fleeing prey in thunderous pursuit. Recent paleontological evidence paints a very different picture of Tyrannosaurus behavior, one that challenges everything popular culture has taught us. Studies of Rex limb proportions, muscle attachment sites, and biomechanical modeling reveal an animal poorly suited for sustained high-speed chases. His massive body weight, while providing devastating impact force, came with a cost: agility and endurance. Computer simulations suggest that at speeds exceeding 25 miles per hour, the forces on his leg bones would risk catastrophic fractures. This was not a marathon runner. This was a sprinter, an explosive athlete built for short, devastating bursts of speed. So how did an animal that couldn't run down swift prey come to dominate an ecosystem filled with large, often fleet-footed herbivores? The answer lies not in speed, but in strategy. Our bull T-Rex is a master of what scientists now believe was his primary hunting technique: the ambush. He begins his day as all skilled predators do, by reading his environment. He raises his massive head, nostrils flaring, sampling the air currents. The wind carries information, the musky scent of a triceratops herd several miles to the east, too alert and defensive this morning. The pungent odor of a rotting carcass to the south, likely already claimed by scavengers. But there, from the northwest, something promising: the subtle scent markers of Edmontosaurus, the duck-billed hadrosaurs that form the backbone of his diet. Edmontosaurus were large animals, some reaching 40 feet in length and weighing up to 4 tons, but they were also social and predictable. They traveled in herds along established routes between feeding grounds and water sources, and it's this predictability that our Tyrannosaurus has learned to exploit. He moves northwest, His gait, an unusual combination of grace and power. Recent trackway studies show that T. Rex walked with a relatively narrow stance, placing one foot almost directly in front of the other, a gait that maximized efficiency for an animal that needed to conserve energy between hunts. He's not rushing. There's no need. He knows these territories intimately, having patrolled this range for years. Every game trail, every river crossing, every choke point in the landscape is mapped in his neural circuitry. After an hour of steady walking, he reaches his destination, a natural bottleneck where a game trail narrows between a steep embankment and a dense stand of horsetails growing along a shallow creek. The ground here is soft, churned by the passage of countless herbivores over weeks and months. Fresh tracks, three-toed impressions the size of dinner plates, tell him that a group of Edmontosaurus passed through recently, likely within the last day. The broken vegetation and browsed fern fronds suggest they're following their usual pattern, feeding in the floodplains at night when it's cooler, then moving to the deeper forest for rest and safety during the heat of the day. This is where he will wait. He positions himself in the shadows of a fallen log, partially concealed by the undergrowth. His mottled coloration, possibly featuring countershading darker above and lighter below, helps him blend into the dappled forest light. And then, he becomes still, perfectly, unnaturally still. This is the part of predation that requires perhaps the greatest skill, patience. For modern ambush hunters like crocodiles, leopards, and some species of sharks, the ability to wait motionlessly for hours, suppressing every instinct to move, is what separates successful hunters from those who starve. And the evidence suggests that Tyrannosaurus possessed this same capacity. Fossil specimens show healed injuries that would have prevented active hunting for weeks or months. Injuries that would have killed a predator dependent on constant pursuit hunting. The famous Sioux specimen, the most complete T-Rex ever found, shows evidence of multiple healed fractures, infections, and injuries that suggest periods of reduced activity. How did these animals survive extended periods of injury? The answer may lie in a hunting strategy that didn't require constant movement, one that allowed them to select their moments carefully, to hunt when conditions were optimal, and to rest and heal when necessary. Our bull settles into his vigil. Hours pass. The sun climbs higher, and the forest comes alive with the sounds of the Cretaceous. The buzz of primitive insects, the calls of small feathered dinosaurs in the canopy, the distant roar of a male T-Rex marking his territory miles away. Our hunter's breathing slows, his metabolic rate decreasing to conserve energy. His eyes, however, remain alert, constantly scanning the game trail. Midday approaches when he detects it, not by sight, but by vibration. His feet, pressed against the ground, pick up the rhythmic tremors of approaching animals. It's a sensory adaptation that modern elephants use to communicate over vast distances, and it's likely that many large dinosaurs possessed similar capabilities. The vibrations grow stronger, multiple animals moving steadily along the trail. His body tenses microscopically, muscles loading like springs, but he remains motionless. Then they appear, a small group of Edmontosaurus, 5 individuals ranging from juveniles to mature adults. They move cautiously but not frantically, heads occasionally lifting to scan for danger, but their primary focus is on the vegetation they're browsing as they walk. They've likely made this journey dozens of times without incident, and familiarity breeds a fatal complacency. Our Tyrannosaurus watches, calculating. His binocular vision assesses distances with precision. The lead animal is too alert, its position at the front of the group giving it clear sight lines. The juveniles in the middle are tempting but smaller, less payoff for the energy expenditure. But there, third in line, a subadult, perhaps 3 tons, young enough to be less experienced, large enough to provide substantial nutrition. More importantly, its position in the group means that when he strikes, the others will scatter in different directions, reducing the risk of a defensive counterattack. The group draws closer. 15 feet, 10 feet. The subadult is now directly in line with his position, no more than 20 feet away. Every muscle in his body is coiled, his massive heart rate elevated, pumping oxygenated blood to muscles that have been waiting hours for this moment. The strike, when it comes, is explosive. From complete stillness to full acceleration in less than a second. Biomechanical studies suggest that T-Rex could accelerate rapidly over short distances, reaching speeds of up to 25 miles per hour in just a few strides, more than sufficient when starting from such close range. The sound of his launch is like thunder, 9 tons of predator suddenly in motion, covering the distance in 3 massive strides. The Edmontosaurus group erupts in panic, but it's already too late for the subadult. Our Tyrannosaurus closes the final feet with his jaws already opening to their maximum gape, nearly 4 feet, revealing rows of serrated teeth. The impact is devastating but calculated. He doesn't aim for the body, where ribs might deflect his bite, or where the prey's bulk might allow it to drag him off balance. Instead, he targets the back of the neck, the most vulnerable junction between head and body. His jaws close with catastrophic force. Teeth designed over millions of years to grip and crush penetrate flesh, muscle, and vertebrae. The biomechanics of his skull, fused bones, reinforced jaw joints, massive muscle attachments, all channel the force of his bite into a single overwhelming assault. Studies of T-Rex teeth marks on fossil bones show distinctive patterns: deep punctures from the conical front teeth, crushing from the massive posterior teeth. Some hadrosaur vertebrae have been found with T-Rex tooth marks that show the bone was completely pulverized. The struggle is brief. The massive predator uses his body weight, something he has an overwhelming advantage, to drive his prey down. Within seconds, the Edmontosaurus's movements slow, then cease. The other members of the herd have scattered into the forest, their alarm calls fading into the distance. Our Tyrannosaurus maintains his grip for several moments longer, ensuring the threat of counterattack is eliminated. Then finally, he releases. The hunt is over. From the first detection of vibrations to the final moment took perhaps 60 seconds. 60 seconds that were the culmination of hours of patient waiting, years of learned behavior, and millions of years of evolutionary refinement. So let me ask you this. Does this change how you see the Tyrannosaurus Rex? Is this patient, strategic ambush predator more or less impressive than the Hollywood monster? What do you think? Could the greatest predator of the Mesozoic have dominated not through constant aggressive pursuit, but through intelligence, patience, and perfect timing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. But what evidence supports this theory of ambush hunting? Let's examine the fossil record. Paleontologists studying T-Rex biomechanics have discovered compelling clues hidden in the bones themselves. The leg proportions of adult Tyrannosaurus show relatively shorter lower leg bones compared to younger individuals, a pattern opposite to what we see in pursuit predators like cheetahs or wolves, where long, slender legs facilitate sustained running. Instead, T-Rex leg architecture resembles that of modern ambush predators, prioritizing explosive power over endurance. Trackway evidence adds another layer to this story. Fossilized footprints from tyrannosaurids show walking patterns with relatively short stride lengths, suggesting these animals spent most of their time moving deliberately rather than at speed. One particularly revealing trackway from New Mexico shows what appears to be a large theropod remaining stationary for an extended period. The depth and clarity of the prints suggesting the animal stood in one location long enough for sediment to settle differently around its feet. Perhaps most convincing are the bite marks themselves. Numerous Triceratops and Edmontosaurus fossils bear distinctive T-Rex tooth impressions, and the angles of these bites tell a story. Many show evidence of attacks from the side or rear, at angles consistent with an animal striking from concealment rather than head-on pursuit. Some Triceratops skulls show bite marks on the back of the frill, a location almost impossible to access if the prey was facing its attacker defensively, but perfectly positioned for an ambush from behind. Yet the scientific community remains divided. Some researchers argue that T-Rex was an opportunistic hunter, capable of both ambush and pursuit depending on circumstances, prey type, and individual condition. They point to the robust leg bones and powerful tail that could provide balance during faster movement, suggesting versatility rather than specialization. The debate continues, and that's what makes paleontology so fascinating. We're constantly revising our understanding as new evidence emerges. Our Tyrannosaurus now faces a different challenge. As he begins to feed, tearing into his prize with powerful bites that strip away flesh and crush bones to access the nutrient-rich marrow, He's not alone for long. The scent of fresh blood carries on the wind, an advertisement that echoes for miles across the Hell Creek landscape. Within an hour, he detects another presence, another adult T-Rex, a slightly smaller individual, likely female, approaching from the east. This is where the social dynamics of Tyrannosaurus become particularly intriguing. Fossil evidence of bite marks on T-Rex skulls and bones, marks that healed, indicating the animal survived the encounter, suggests these predators regularly engaged in aggressive interactions with their own kind. Whether over mates, territory, or food resources, T-Rex social structure involved violence that stopped just short of elimination. The approaching female slows as she sees him, her massive head lowering slightly in a display that communicates both caution and intent. He responds by positioning his body between her and his prize, a low rumbling vocalization emanating from deep within his chest, a sound we can only imagine, but one that likely carried the subsonic power of modern elephants or alligators. His jaws open slightly, displaying teeth still stained with fresh blood. For several minutes, they engage in a tense standoff. She's smaller, perhaps 7 tons to his 9, but hunger makes even cautious predators bold. She takes a tentative step forward. He responds with a more aggressive display, lunging forward several feet without fully committing to an attack. It's a calculated risk. Fighting another adult T-Rex could result in serious injury, and in a world without veterinary care, even a broken tooth or damaged jaw could be a death sentence. The fossil record shows us that these disputes were real and sometimes brutal. Pathologies on T-Rex specimens include fractured ribs, damaged jawbones, and distinctive puncture wounds that match T-Rex tooth spacing, evidence of intraspecific combat. But they also show us something else: restraint. Most of these injuries healed, suggesting that T-Rex social interactions, while violent, followed rules that prevented mutually assured destruction. After what seems an eternity, the female retreats, deciding the risk outweighs the potential reward. Our male returns to his meal. Over the next several days, he will consume as much as possible. Studies of modern large predators suggest that a single large prey item could sustain a T-Rex for 1 to 2 weeks, allowing him to enter a period of reduced activity while he digests. This is the reality of life as an apex predator in the Mesozoic. Not constant action, but cycles of intense activity followed by rest, strategic patience followed by explosive violence, social tension balanced with self-preservation instinct. Thank you so much for staying with us this far into the journey. The conclusion of our Tyrannosaurus' story, and the final chapter of his species' reign, is still to come. As weeks pass, our bull T-Rex continues his pattern, patrolling his territory, marking boundaries with scent and vocalizations, selecting ambush sites, and waiting. He is the apex expression of late Cretaceous predatory evolution, an animal so successful that he has no natural enemies except members of his own species and the unforgiving demands of survival itself. But unknown to him, unknown to any creature living in this world, a catastrophe is approaching. In just a few million years, an eye blink in geological time, an asteroid will impact what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, and the resulting devastation will end 66 million years of dinosaurian dominance. The Tyrannosaurus rex, along with all non-avian dinosaurs, will vanish from the Earth, yet his legacy endures. The fossils left behind tell us stories that continue to reshape our understanding of prehistoric life. They reveal not just anatomy, but behavior, not just what these animals were, but how they lived, hunted, competed, and survived in a world so alien yet so fundamentally similar to our own in its ecological dramas. The T-Rex wasn't just a mindless monster. He was a product of millions of years of evolutionary problem-solving, an animal whose hunting strategy may have been defined not by his limitations, but by his intelligence, the wisdom to conserve energy, to choose battles carefully, to use patience as a weapon as deadly as his jaws. So what do you believe? After examining the evidence, the biomechanics, the trackways, the bite marks, the healed injuries, do you think Tyrannosaurus rex was truly a master of the ambush? Or do the fossils tell a more complex story of an adaptable predator who used multiple strategies depending on opportunity and necessity? The beauty of paleontology is that we're still discovering, still debating, still learning, Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What aspects of T. Rex behavior do you find most fascinating? What other theories about dinosaur behavior would you like us to explore? Your engagement helps shape the scientific conversation and guides future research directions. If you're captivated by the real science behind these prehistoric giants, the behaviors, the ecosystems, the evolutionary dramas that played out over millions of years, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. We have more documentaries coming that explore the cutting-edge discoveries reshaping our understanding of the Mesozoic world. And don't stop here. In our next recommended video, we'll explore another behavior that challenges everything you thought you knew about dinosaurs. Another piece of the puzzle that reveals just how sophisticated, how complex, and how remarkable these animals truly were. The science of paleontology never stops surprising us, and neither should your journey into deep time.